In a jaw-dropping instance that will go down in South African political annals, Democratic Alliance leader John Steenhuisen took to the floor of Parliament and declared the words, "No one hoped to ever hear so brazenly, President Cyril Ramaphosa must be jailed." The dynamite declaration sent the chamber into shock with Parliament left reeling, and the waves have not ceased to make themselves felt since. The tension in the air prior to Steenhuisen standing up to speak was palpable, but nothing indicated that the opposition leader would strike with such a deafening blow. His voice had the weight of someone who knew his words would not only resonate in the chamber, but would echo far beyond its confines. Gasps were audible as ANC members shared nervous glances, and opposition benches exploded into cheers and whispers of admiration. The leader of the opposition did not hold back. The president was accused by him of being right at the center of corruption in the government, not merely turning a blind eye, but actively profiting from a faulty system. In his view, South Africa is not merely experiencing a political crisis. It is dealing with a moral breakdown, one headed by the very individual who is supposed to repair it. This was no thinly veiled insult. It was not political theater. It was a call to legal action, for arrest, for accountability, for consequences. Steenhuisen's utterance crossed over into something more than criticism. It was a call for the state to hold the president to the same standards as any other citizen alleged to have done something wrong. The context to Steenhuisen's call is a lengthening roll of outstanding corruption accusations, both past and present. He referenced collapsed prosecutions, stuck investigations, and the curious treatment of high-profile ANC leaders embroiled in scandals that have cost the country billions. He portrayed Ramaphosa as a keeper of differential justice, accusing him of shielding friends while South Africa sinks under joblessness, inequality, and the persistent harm of state capture. Steenhuisen referred to disappeared government money, huge secret of tenders, and presidential silence at times when public confidence screamed for transparency. Most damningly, the president was charged with being in league with covering up those who emptied out state institutions, and he referred to this as a betrayal of the democratic promise for which so many South Africans bled. If Steenhuisen's address was fire, then the ANC reply was gasoline. The chamber descended into chaos. ANC MPs jumped up, yelling in protest, pounding on desks, and calling for the DA leader to withdraw his comment. The speaker's pleas for calm were lost in the den of outrage. But Steenhuisen held his ground. He would not apologize. He would not tone down his comment. Rather, he doubled his bet, urging the National Prosecuting Authority to launch an on-the-spot investigation into the president's actions. The ANC leadership were visibly rattled. Some rushed to restore decorum, but others snapped back in verbal assault. Steenhuisen was accused by Ramaphosa supporters of being politically opportunistic and using the agony of South Africa's corruption scandal for political mileage. But inside the chamber, perception mattered. The ruling party appeared on the back foot, shaken and cornered. The Speaker of Parliament had difficulty holding the reins as the House plunged into an uproar of shouts and blame. For a brief moment, Parliament was more like a battlefield than a democracy's home. It was not just political theatre. It was a complete explosion in the heart of South Africa's tenuous democracy. Outside Parliament, the storm grew. Activists, journalists, and citizens quickly took sides. Social media burst into phrases of the altercation, filling timelines with scorching arguments and hashtags such as #Ramaphosa must fall and #SteenhuisenExposeTruth. The country watched in real time as South Africa's political balance was set to be rocked by this altercation. In the following hours and days, President Ramaphosa said nothing. There was no press conference, no official statement, just an increasingly dense cloud of rumor. Was his silence a calculated move, a delaying tactic to allow him time to think and plan a response? Or was it a political panic, a demonstration that the president had been taken back by the extent of the assault? Either cause, his departure only ignited the firestorm further. For many now, this is a turning point, a real test of Ramaphosa's integrity, strength, and leadership. Will he stand up to the claims directly or fall back on the machinery of party protection and legalities for the ANC? The damage is already substantial. Steenhuisen's claims have intensified visible fissures in the ruling party. Youth formations, provincial factions, and irate veterans have started grumbling louder than ever before. The ANC had relied on its liberation heritage, loyalty, and struggle credentials for years. But with corruption charges mounting, governance failures intensifying, and faction fights boiling over into the open, even the loyalists are beginning to wonder if the movement has lost its moral bearings. The previously unimaginable idea of a sitting or ex-president being incarcerated is no longer locked away in titters. It is openly debated on national stages. Steenhuisen has forced the conversation into the mainstream's middle, putting the ANC in its place in a way that somehow feels historic. Political commentators have not hesitated to offer their views. Some have described Steenhuisen's appeal as irresponsible, likely to destabilize, and one too many in a sensitive democracy. Others opposed that it was unavoidable, a belated defiance of impunity at the highest political level. Whatever interpretation, nobody questions the seriousness of the hour. Average South Africans have also made their voices heard in taxi ranks, churches, campuses, and townships. Argument storm. Some regard Steenhuisen as a hero for having the courage to speak out loud what most matter in private. Others call him opportunistic for politicizing the country's suffering. But one thing is certain, he has changed the conversation. South Africa is used to political unrest. Yet this time it feels monumental. A bold accusation, an arrest call, a parliament in disarray, and a president besieged. All of it betrays a seismic change. This is no longer a matter of party politics. It is a matter of justice, truth, and the battle to restore integrity to a nation bruised by failed promises. With each passing day, pressure on Ramaphosa builds. Civil society organizations mobilize petitions. Opposition parties up their game with vitriol. International media have picked it up, using it as proof of South Africa's worsening governance crisis. The shock waves are international, embarrassing not just Ramaphosa, but the ANC is standing as Africa's one-time golden liberation movement.